student affairs so that I can move on to do exactly what I'm doing right now. This last June, my supervisor, Karen Anderson, many of you know who she is, decided to retire. Well deserved. She has been doing this work for 35 years, and so she just thought it was time. That being said, all of the things that Karen was doing were amazing, and it would take 3 people to fill that role. When you do something for 35 years, you know how to do it efficiently, and so now we're kind of starting over again and re-envisioning what community engagement can look like on the MSU campus. So my role this year as interim assistant director for community engagement has a couple different layers. Number one, I am part-time, so I'm 30 hours a week. And number two, probably more importantly, some of you may have heard, is that the campus kitchen has closed. That closed mid-August. And the main reason for that is that we just did not have the capacity to continue running a program of that size that needed a lot of support. The other reason is we saw the face of student volunteering and their passion for it change since COVID. Some are still a little reluctant to step back in there, and some just have different priorities now. And so recognizing that, we're going to go in a different direction. So what is Community Engagement Office here for? When you think of Community Engagement Office, most times students think about volunteering, and that's part of the equation. When you think about community service, I'd like you to think of a coin. So on one side is volunteering. That's everything that we see happening. That's direct service. That's getting the food into people's hands. It's making sure they have access to applications for health care. It's getting them to resources for housing. All of those wonderful things that we see happening is on the front side of that coin. But on the back side of that coin is what's called capacity building. You all are in capacity building mode right now by holding these meetings, discussing what could be, outlining some of the plans that you have, looking forward to the future while taking account of the past to make sure that you have programs and structures in place that benefit everyone. The same can be said for community service engagement. It takes people to create those programs, to run those events, to envision what a world could look like with service. So that being said, why is it situated in student activities? So student activities is amazing. I love working in that department. This is my 3rd year there, first year as a colleague. And I didn't understand what student activities was before I came here. I'm a non-traditional student. I started school at age 21, so later than most, and for 2 years, because as a military dependent, I aged out of the system and could no longer live with my parents when they moved around to military bases. So I found myself homeless and needing to work to keep a roof over my head, and that's what I did for the next 13 years. And then at age 35, I decided to step back into my education at Southwest Minnesota State University, and decided to take my degree path towards psychology with a focus on religious studies as a minor. That served me well as a person, as a human being, far better than I ever could have imagined. And so when we talk about age and different age ranges being in the same room, I am energized and awed and inspired by you, by this current generation coming through. You keep me in the know about specific topics that are important to you. You help me learn what certain trends are and what's important in your lives, and how you see the world moving forward beyond the current generations. And so going back to school at that age with people just like you, I was very much reinvigorated, regenerized. But also I did a complete 180 on many of the things that I had grown up to learn and believe. And so I'm better for it. And so I love standing here before you now, knowing that not only will I be helping guide you, but you're also my peers and you're also helping me learn as well. After I graduated in 2018, I became an AmeriCorps Vista. A show of hand if you've heard of AmeriCorps. Okay. So AmeriCorps is similar to the Peace Corps, but it's for the United States. And so they've been going since the 1960s civil rights movement. And VISTA stands for Volunteer in Service to America. We have to take an oath of office, very similar to the president or any military member. So I did that for 2 years at Southwest Minnesota State University, researching, grant writing, and organizing a student food and resource pantry that is still supported today. So knowing that, when I came here, the community engagement office is where I wanted to be, and I want to continue this work and to learn it and learn from you the best ways that we can help you engage with your community. So we're situated in student activities because, one, it's a collaborative space, right? We've got lots of different student groups that come there, either your RSOs, your leadership teams, your fraternity and sorority life, your student events team. It's a very collaborative space, and many of these students are just as passionate about service and volunteering as they are about having fun events and having a good time. It's a reflective practice. It takes what students are learning in their courses and it blows it beyond the classroom wall. And just because you're taking an algebra class or an automotive engineering class, it doesn't mean that you can't apply those skills in ways that benefit others. And so it also is reflective in how you view your world and your community. So it's not enough to know that a soup kitchen exists. If that's all you want to know, then that's all you're going to see. But it means more to know why that soup kitchen exists. Who started it? Why is it there? Why does our community need it? And what can we do to prevent people from needing it? Essentially is addressing some of those basic needs and security. And many of the things that students need on this campus are needs out in the greater Mankato area as well. So by doing that and situating ourselves in student activities, we put ourselves right in the middle of everything that you care about so that we can help you tie those key lessons in and develop some of those reflective practices. Even if you're part of student events team and you're you're doing the haunted takeover or you're helping plan homecoming, what are some of the things you're seeing? What are some of the things you're doing? What do you see is missing? We can collaborate and do some of those things that help enrich student lives. So I've got just 5 things to make you aware of. So the first thing I already mentioned was the closure of the campus kitchen. I'm going to be doing an interview on Friday with Amalia. With Amal. To talk a little bit about that and to talk a bit more about the direction we're going to be taking the community engagement office. So be looking for that coming up in the reporter. I'm also working with Jamie Waterbury from Sodexo to continue Swipe Out Hunger. How many of you have heard of that? Okay. Swipe Out Hunger is supported by student government. In fact, I believe it was brought about by your initiative, and so it's really important. Sodexo supports you 100% in this, and we don't want a single one of those swipes to go to waste. So myself and who's Trinity? Is Trinity here? Okay, so Trinity is going to be your Swipe Out Hunger ambassador. So they're going to be working with myself and Jamie to get all that marketing and push that out towards students so they know that that is a viable resource for them. And if you're unaware of what Swipe Out Hunger is, you go to the Dining Center page and you can apply if you're short on food or if you are just having a really tough time financially. You can put that application in and you will get 5 free swipes at the University Dining Center. And I don't know about you, but I love a good free meal, especially when I'm down. And if you're really struggling, sometimes a hot meal can make all the difference in the world. And the way that they go about giving those meal swipes is just putting it on your MAV card. So you don't need to have a special tag that says, hey, I'm a charity case. It puts that dignity piece back into the work that is doing so that students can feel normal just going to the UDC, swiping their card like everybody else, and utilizing those meals. Does that make sense? Okay. So next, I wanted to talk about MAV Central. I really encourage all of you as leaders, go to Mav Central, do the assignment that you were given by your leaders, but update your profiles. Tell your story of who you are on that platform, because that's what it's there for. When different groups go in and use these, if you're part of other groups, like Michelle Harvey says in our department, she says it tells a story. It puts numbers on paper so that when you need to prove something, when you need to ask for something, when you need to appeal to the masses, it's all there. And all you have to do is print some reports and say, this is who we are and what we're doing. So I encourage you, every single one of you, to go on there, get logged in. If you haven't for the first time, please do it soon. Update your profiles, do the assignments that you need to do, but utilize that database because it's a very robust tool. If anybody remembers Presence, it is not that. It is so much better. And there is a little bit of a learning curve, but we were told that your age group is the best at adapting this technology. So please go in there, fiddle around with it, show us a thing or two, see what you can do with it to tell your stories. Next is addressing some of the needs of our especially international students. Many of you may know, and some of you in here have the Maverick Scholarship, Maverick International Scholarship, and they are revamping how they're doing those hours. When Presence failed the way that it did, they had to come up with something in the meantime to help their students track hours. Well, we had a wonderful meeting with them today, Paulina and Blake in the Kearney International Center, and we're making plans to move forward to help them streamline those hours and to streamline the information that we're getting out to our students. So be on the lookout for those. And then the other thing I can say or tell you and really encourage you to do is to follow the community engagement newsletter. I will get that QR code to Sierra and David so they can pass it on to all of you. If you have the community engagement newsletter, that means you have all the information of what's coming up for service opportunities at your fingertips, and you can send that out further than I ever could. So streamlining all that information is going to be very important work. Now there's a couple of hurdles with what my role is. In my current capacity, again, I'm only working 30 hours a week. And so the team that I'm in charge of is called Mavs in Action. Raise your hand if you've heard of Mavs in Action. Okay. That is your student volunteer leadership group, and there are 6 positions. You've got president, vice president, social media secretary, events coordinator, and our other new position is our multicultural student opportunities coordinator. And so they are tasked with helping me, as the community engagement office umbrella, they are the student-facing team to that office. So everything that you hear about from community engagement will likely come through them and through their Mav Central platform. That's where the newsletter will also be coming through. So with my 30 hours, I'm just limited on time, so you're going to hear a lot from them. Some other things to consider is with the closure of Campus Kitchen is that there are less on-campus opportunities for service for the students that are looking for those opportunities. And regardless if you're a student that has a need to fill certain requirements or if you just have a passion for service, you're valid. You're valid for wanting to find those opportunities and to serve and to learn. And so with the Campus Kitchen closing, we have less on-campus opportunities. So we're going to be looking at other ways to help students find those opportunities, including creating a list of community partners that will be available at any time for them to look at. So when we talk about streamlining information, what we want needs to be consistent with what we see on Mav Central and on the community engagement webpage. So that will be changing soon after I get my crash course in EpiServer. And then last piece on some of the barriers that I might be facing with those off-campus opportunities. Transportation. It's always going to be an issue for students. It's especially an issue, especially for students who might have physical considerations, you know, if they have mobility devices or medical equipment. So it's going to be harder for them to find those service opportunities, as well as many of our international students or younger students just not able to drive. So trying to work with community partners and communicate the best ways to connect with them is top of my plate. And part of that's going to be helpful with me creating the database of off-campus partners that we'll have for students. Everything else, I think you'll probably learn and hear about. Probably the biggest thing that we'll have for the year is alternative spring break. Raise your hand if you've heard of that. A couple of you. Alternative spring break is an amazing opportunity. We're going to take up to 12 of us down to Kansas City. We went last year. We're going to do it again this year because we love developing those long-term relationships. And that is a trip during spring break. We're going to go Saturday through Wednesday. And we're going to build in up to 20 hours of volunteer service into that trip with multiple organizations. Last year we worked with Kansas City Parks, Powell Botanical Gardens, KC Kitchens, which is a community kitchen. And the year before that, we went to Minneapolis. We worked for a children's engineering museum, Habitat for Humanity, a women's spiritual library, and there was one more piece that we did. Oh, Minneapolis and St. Paul Parks. And the cool thing about that is we were there during the Minneapolis teachers strike, so we got to have a front row seat to kind of how that played out as well. So they're very impactful experiences, and the education piece comes in, again, learning what those services are, but why they exist, and how we can start thinking about different ways to be proactive rather than reactive. Okay, that was a lot of words, and I think I will stop.
Thank you, Crystal. In the sake of protecting our limited time and protecting quorum, because we do have a candidate here, I'm going to limit us to one question. Can I get who the question askers are, if there are any questions? Seeing no questions, thank you so much for your time, Crystal. With that being said, move on to senator reports. There are no senator reports, so we'll go on to vacancies. Is there any vacancies for off-campus? Seeing no vacancy candidates for off-campus, is there a vacancy candidate for residential life? Seeing one, please make your way up to the podium. How this will work is that you will be given 2 minutes to introduce yourself as a candidate. But before that, I'm going to stop myself. Please introduce your name and, if you are comfortable, your pronouns.
Sure. Hi, my name is Rylan Papenhagen. Pronouns are very simple. You can use any of them. I just need to know you're talking to me. That's about it. Now, it's me as a candidate. I'm good to go? Okay, thank you. I would be representing residential life as a senator, if you'd have me. My current position on campus is a CA in Julius Sears. I have prior experience working within the campus official student policy work ground. Prior experience to forms of student government, I was a participant in my high school's student government for 7 years, I think, and held positions of vice president and secretary during different years. Within my own class, I served as president and treasury. Other such positions, I was in the Minnesota Honor Society, and this is all to say I have prior experience in leadership positions and as acting as representatives to further the goals or ideas of different people I would then be representing. I have a great interest in furthering any help and general policy issues that could be handled on campus. I believe that we should all move towards making the best experience possible for all individuals on campus, as seems to have been the general theme of a lot of our prior speakers today. The idea is to form an inclusion and effective campus experience. And if you'd let me, I'd be more than happy to provide any help I can. Thank you.
Thank you. as a bit of a reminder as we go into the questioning phase, the question should primarily focus on the role, whether they can serve the role that they are going into. Any other questions in terms of the time will be stricken. With that being said, are there any questions for the candidate? Sarah Aladeji?
What are some goals you have in mind to solve or to address?
Some goals I have to address.
Yep.
Yes. That is a great question. Thank you. Frankly, I don't know exactly. I'm looking to find more specific ones to help push forward. I know last year I was a partner in setting up a fair, a mini pride on campus due to some of the rise in some homophobic actions that had taken place prior that year. I'd like to further see actions that are about making comfortable positions. We have issues on campus, and many of them don't get talked about. These can go unreported, and it can be a wide variety of things, be it some hate-related issue or policy that is just acting against the interest of some people on campus, be it I have had friends who have mentioned issues with disability and resources being able to access campus alone. We don't always have the most effective systems in play to get us to where we need to be that ramps or elevators or any other such devices. It's something I need to learn, and I'm more than happy to listen.
Are there any other questions for the candidate? Any other questions? Any other questions? They will proceed onwards to a closing statement, not to exceed 1 minute.
Thank you. Yes, to recapitulate my idea, I would be more than happy to serve as a residential life senator, a position that I don't know as much about as I should, and I would greatly appreciate any help along the way. Prior experience of leadership is tested, but again, I apologize. I'm off track. My goal is to help the campus in any way possible, be that in public issues, be that in the student issues, be that in the interest of the campus as an entity as a whole. And if I can take this position to do so, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I'll give you the same opportunity that I give every candidate. You may stay in the room while we discuss your fate, or you can go outside whatever happens with the result after the discussion. I will bring you back in after that, or if you wish to sit in the gallery. With that being said, are there any discussion points on the candidate? President Roiger?
I know the candidate mentioned maybe the lack of experience with student government stuff. However, we all came here not knowing really what we were doing, and so I think this is a great opportunity for them to learn and to be able to grow and develop their own skills personally, as well as help support the mission of student government, which is to uplift all the student voices. And I think they're in a unique position to be able to do that with their role as a CA. And CAs have made great residential life senators in the past. So I will be voting in favor of the candidate.
Vice President Mesta?
So I think this candidate is a great person to have as our Res Life Senator. Based off our time, I would like to yield to question to vote.
Do you mean to make a
Motion.
to previous question?
Previous question.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seeing there's a second, is there any dissent? Seeing none, we will go into voting procedure. How this works is if you can tear off a sheet of paper, and you can vote yes, no, or abstain. If you are voting on Zoom, please send. Okay, there is no one on Zoom, so please write yes, no, or abstain. And I got this side.
David, is yours already picked up? Great question.
And then the ones under just I want to sit in the middle or later. I did. I was. And I kept
Alrighty, we've had an election. Rylan, do you mind standing up and coming up to the podium, please? We've had an election, and you have been elected as a residential life senator. Please repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Rylan Papenhagen,
will represent and serve
will represent and serve
the students of Minnesota State University, Mankato,
the students of Minnesota State Mankato
in their student life
in their student life
and academic needs,
and academic needs,
and will uphold
the
mission, constitution, and bylaws
the mission, constitution, and bylaws
of the student government.
of the student government.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
Congratulations. Please take a seat at the table. Alrighty, we'll proceed onwards to new business. There is no new business, so we'll go on to old business. There is no old business, so we'll go on to announcements. Are there any announcements? Sarah Sharaf?
Thanks everyone for tabling on the football game. We were able to distribute all of the t-shirts that we had from Student Activities Office, and this is a blast. Thank you.
Are there any other announcements? John?
Thank you, Speaker Roberts. Again, continue to seek out help if there's anything that we can do to help you with your projects and initiatives, or if there's interest in moving ahead on anything. I do owe an email to somebody who I just saw, and I'm like, oh, I have something buried in my inbox. Big surprise. There is a lot going on. We are getting into a very busy season. If you are part of a student organization and you want to do any fundraising, there are fundraising opportunities for your group to work homecoming events. The information is available in the Maverick Involvement Team office. The student events team will be paying organizations to do various things, whether it's working the homecoming concert or the fireworks and bonfire or whatever it may be. So there are opportunities available. They're also looking for groups to host rooms during the haunted house, the CSU haunted takeover that will take place at the end of October. So please stop by. I forget that there's somebody from student events team here in the room all the time, that they may talk about this stuff. So sorry, but I tend to talk about stuff for our office. So those are big things that are going on. Again, thank you for getting the t-shirts distributed. That was the hope, and I've seen them all over campus, so that's a very good thing. So again, continue to let us know what we can do to assist. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there any other announcements? Any other announcements? Seeing none, we will go into roll call. Senator Hart. Senator Henson. Senator Kusa. Senator Brawley. Senator Ali. Senator Ali. Senator Sharab. Senator Woltekainen. Senator Ziti. Senator Ziti. Senator Nguyen.
Yeah.
Senator Bryant. Senator Aisha. Senator Kanza. Senator Goma. Senator Mohammed. Senator Aladeji. Senator Lysico.
Here.
Senator Andree.
Here.
Senator Ditterich.
Here.
Senator Revere.
Here.
Senator Godswell. Senator Bahanu. Senator Parikh. Senator Narala. Senator Jha. Senator Smeltz. Senator Beckerman. Senator Colleran. Speaker Roberts. Here. President Roiger.
Here.
Vice President Mesta.
Here.
Senator Ryland.
Here.
Alrighty. I adjourn us at 5:59 p.m.
This close to waving it off. If it was 6:01, I would wave it off. If it was 6:01, I would wave it off. And this one, he would always be like, Bill.
I have looked at it. I know.
Oh my God.